Neil Magny is still getting main event slots in 2024, and even though that fact is pretty crazy, at least we get Carlos Prates fighting again on this UFC Fight Night 100 card, and to commemorate the 100, they have Neil, like I said before, Neil Magny fighting in the main event. Other than that, it is a pretty deep card. There's a lot of like underground names. If you look at it, there's like that one champion middleweight guy who's De Ritter. He's fighting on this card. We have Cody Garbrandt. He's fighting some silly guy in the card, and so other than the main event, it's pretty good. But I don't know. I just think there's a lot of like RDA versus Jeff Neal. I know that's not better than this fight, but that's probably on par, and that was a early headliner to a pay per view. So I just think that like if we're gonna have a Magny versus Prates like fight night main event, might as well just throw in another ranked fight. Like I don't know. That's what I think, anyways. But let's just get in right in this card. I don't have it prepared for you, but let's just go into it with Trayshawn Gore versus Antonio Tricoli. Now, after that Antonio Tricoli versus Shara Magomedov fight, I think you guys have a pretty good basis of who Antonio is, and he's fighting another NPC in Trayshawn Gore. But the thing about Trayshawn Gore that makes him better than Anthony Tricoli is that he is more fast and he is stronger. I think Trayshawn Gore, even though he's 4-2, I think the level of competition he has faced is way better than Antonio Tricoli. And Trayshawn Gore just being the bigger, not bigger, I know Antonio Tricoli's bigger, but Trayshawn Gore's just the bulkier, just meatier guy. And I just think that he's going to be able to land a few takedowns while being able to hold his own on the feet. So Antonio Tricoli, he's not UFC material. He's Dane Mackenzie Dern, and he's kind of the UFC's bitch. Like they can pretty much make him do anything for a quick dollar. So Trayshawn Gore, I think it's an easy win here. So that's my prediction there. Caston Bolonis versus Cortavius Romeus. Now, even though I do think Contavious Romeus is not like a bum, I don't think he's like not UFC caliber material. I do think he's a little overrated. Coming off of that Dana White Contender Series win, I saw a lot of hype surrounding his name, but he was fighting this like shitty Canadian guy, and other than that, his record has just shown that he's just kind of mid. His striking's pretty okay, but he kind of relied on his wrestling in the Dana White Contender Series fight, and I just think if you do that against Gaston Bolonis in the bantamweight division, where it's so well-rounded, you're eventually going to get caught. Even though I know Gaston is not really that good, he's coming off of a loss against Marcus McGee where he really didn't do much, but I just think Marcus McGee is a more imposing threat than Cortavius Romeus, and I just think Gaston Bolonis is way more powerful, and I just think that his striking's pretty well put together. It's pretty safe, where it'll just be like power shots like every once in a while, and I don't know. I just think Romeus is overrated. I after watching that Dana White Contender Series fight, I really wasn't that sold on him. But I do think he could probably pick up a win here. He's not fighting top caliber competition or anything, so I do have Gaston by decision here, and yeah, that's my prediction for that fight. Oh, here we go. I know this is where you guys were looking forward to. Lisa Mullins versus Claudia Saigola with a weird L. So we are tempered by not being able to see Claudia Saigola's photo. Let's just give it a quick Google search real quick. Just quick. Damn, she's bad as sorry. She looks like a very brave, strong, and courageous woman who would be very good at mixed martial arts. But yeah, so in this fight, I'm gonna go Melissa Mullins, mostly because one of her eyes are pointed the wrong way, and Claudia Segola is a model who could probably not do this for a career. So yeah, I just think whoever's the uglier fighter is probably gonna win. I think they need to work harder. They have much more to lose. They can't really fall back on a bunch of not pervs, but just overall degenerates who would pay for their OnlyFans. So Melissa Mullins, I have no clue who she's beat or who she is, but she beats Claudia Segola. But keep in mind, Claudia is coming in. I think this is her debut, and trying to get pushed. So this is kind of the bottom caliber of WMMA. Not like I would know, but that's my prediction for that one. You don't give a shit. Damon Blackshear versus Cody Stamann. So they threw Damon Blackshear, another NPC bantamweight wrestler who can only do one thing. After his loss against Montel Jackson, and even though that was a bad loss, he got KO'd early, and he's coming back super quick. He's fighting Cody Stamann. He's a wrestler, and Damon Blackshear has shown time and time again that he's able to neutralize wrestling. He's kind of tall in his Muay Thai stance, which kind of helps him with these short, stubby guys who are just gonna double leg spam. And yeah, he doesn't have anything to worry about on the feet. I think he can just keep it at range, just hit Cody Stamann with whatever he wants, stuff some takedowns, and just eventually get the win. Cody Stamann, watched his film back. He's Garrett Armfield. He's who else? He's just one of those prototype bantamweight wrestlers who is just gonna sit on you and just kind of hit you with a little bit of shots. And he might get the submission against a shittier guy, but he's fighting Damon Blackshear, who's pretty good. So I got Damon. Matthew Semmelsberger versus Charles Radke. Now, I know Charles Radke, he does say some pretty silly things on the mic, but I do think Matthew Semmelsberger, if he's not facing someone super technical, he's able to use his athleticism to kind of just his advantage. And even though Matthew Semmelsberger, he's been KO'd a couple times recently, and I didn't even think he would get another shot in UFC, but he did. I do think he's just way better than Charles Radke just from an athletic standpoint. In the first 2 rounds, you would think Matthew Semmelsberger is a future champion. He's just overall with his kicks and striking, he keeps on getting better with it, and he's fighting someone less dangerous than Charles Radke. I forgot, what was his last opponent's name? Sorry, I keep on doing audibles in this. Yeah, he lost to Preston Parsons. Terrible look. Preston Parsons just kept it technical, kept it on the back foot, and he's fighting Charles Radke, who I do think is more aggressive, who will be trying to push the pace a little bit more. And even though Charles Radke, he is coming off of a loss against Carlos Prates, and there's really no shame in that because Carlos is a demon. Matthew, I just think his athleticism is going to be able to take advantage, and I just think Charles Radke's striking is overrated. I was really high on him for some reason, whatever reason, before his Carlos Prates fight. I thought he was going to be maybe able to wrestle and just grit it out, but I don't know. Watching this film back, I kind of just realized how he's good at the first few rounds if you're not really dangerous on the feet, but once you got him in the back foot, once you're kind of dangerous towards him, he's kind of can't really do anything. He's kind of just a sitting duck. So Matthew Semmelsberger, I do have him getting it done. Mansour Abdul Malik versus Dasko Tadar Vervik. I do think Mansour is going to win this fight. I did have to watch. I've never heard of Dusko before this, I can't lie. He kind of looks like Stefan Struve, but he's in the middleweight division. And the thing about Dusko, he's a pretty good striker. I think he's kind of underrated there, but that doesn't really matter. You're getting taken down by that Wright dude, that Jordan Wright, who's a predominant striker. I just think if you're fighting a wrestler and you've shown holes in your wrestling, I'm going to pick the wrestler. The wrestler's coming off of the Dana White Contender Series. His striking wasn't really seen too much in his Dana White Contender Series fight, but I don't know. He's not really taking too much of a step of competition. Dusko is good, but he's getting taken down at will. He's pretty good striking, but his just overall fight IQ, he's just kind of a retard. And Mansour Abdul Malik will just probably double leg, get him down, and just beat him up. He was able to get up Dusko with the other guy, but I just think Mansour is a different type of grappler, and a lot of these Dana White Contender Series guys, a lot of the good ones have been really dominant grapplers, and Mansour proves that point, right? And yeah, that's the prediction on that one. Elise Zaleski dos Santos versus Nicholas Dalby. Now, this is just a mirror matchup. They're just big, not big, but they're welterweights. But they're just bigger dudes, more on the shorter side of welterweight, just slinging hooks at each other with fucking iron at the head, just not going down. And this is a rematch from years past. But Nicholas Dalby, I just think he's the more reliable pick here. even though I do think this is a straight up 50-50. Alicios Dos Santos, he's kind of a retard. In a lot of his fights, there's a lot of times where he's able to take the win if he really tried, but it was just he kind of decides he kind of wants to hang out in the pocket and just kind of swing wildly. And Nicholas Dalby, I think he's just shown more times that he's the more reliable pick. I mean, he beat what's his name, Renat Fakhretdinov, a good wrestler. He's coming off of that loss to I forgot who, to be honest, but Nicholas Dalby, you kind of know what he is. He's this guy who'll come up to you, just spam hooks and just over and over just terrorize you with these like combos. And even though I do think as Lizzie Dos Santos will make it close, just make him trade, I do think that Dalby was just the overall safer pick here. I do think it's just straight up 50-50. These guys will just go in there, just close their eyes, and then it'll end in 30 seconds. So that's my prediction for that. Luana Pinheiro versus Gillian Roberts. I will pick Gillian Roberts. These Canadian women are actually not that bad. They all, I think, train together, and they all have like pretty nasty ground and pound. Was just watching Joanna Jezderbedik, and I remember watching Gillian Robertson. She did get the TKO in her last fight, I think, and she's going up against another Brazilian. I just think that these girls like will probably be able to neutralize them on the feet, but right when it gets to the floor, Gillian Robertson will beat the shit out of the other girl. And yeah, I just think these Canadian women are not really that attractive, but they can fight. So that's my prediction for that one. GM3 versus Rainier de Ridder. A lot of people bringing in hype Rainier. I know he's this former one champion, and I'm not gonna like denounce that. I know he's a good grappler. I know he's tough, but when you watch this guy strike, it's kind of silly. He's kind of just like this. It looks like the steroid head who's just like throwing everything into his punches, and I'm not saying it doesn't work. It probably did work for him in the ONE FC days, but I don't think it'll work for him in the UFC. Even though I do think he'll pick up this one against Gerald Meerschaert, I just don't. After watching his film, I just think his wrestling's good, and he's a pressure guy who's just gonna hold you down. But if he's not getting you to the floor, he's fucked. But he's fighting GM3, and even though GM3 is going to make it an interesting grappling match, where he's going to be able to do a bunch of sprawls, a bunch of, rolls and stuff to be able to get out of these Rainier de Ridder positions, I just don't think Gerald Meerschaert will catch him in a sub like he did against Shabazian. I think GM3 needs to fight someone who's completely negligent on the feet to, like, have any chance, and Rainier de Ridder, I just think when you watch him, he's more of a pressure guy instead of like this guy who will try things. So I just don't think Gerald will be able to find a time where his momentum's off and he'll be able to like flip him and catch a sub. I just think Ritter will just ride out just wrestling. And yeah. Bernardo Sopai versus Ricky Turcios. Bernardo Sopai, he was coming off of a pretty bad KO loss against Vinicius Oliveira. He's coming back now, and I do think he'll win this fight because Ricky Turcios is like a psychotic little boy. Like, when does anyone else get that like vibe off of Ricky Turcios? Just this like kind of like school shooter dude who used to like eat rocks in elementary school and like would tell you the weirdest shit. I just get the vibe from him. But Bernardo Sopai, he was dominating Vinicius Oliveira before, where what's his name, Ricky Simon was not able to, and he eventually did get KO'd in the third round after gassing. He was doing it in short notice, so I give him a pass on that. And he's fighting now Ricky Turcios, who kind of lives off of his back. If he doesn't get a silly submission in there randomly, he'll fucking lose. Yeah, Ricky Turcios' ass. He kind of just relies on his like aura, and I know he's a tough winner, but my grandma's a tough winner. Like anyone can be a tough winner at this point. Here's like, it's stupid. Bernardo Sopai, I just think he'll be able to hold out his wrestling. I just think he'll pressure grapple until Ricky Turcios is done. I do think it will be a decision, and those are my predictions for that fight. Carolina Kowalczyk versus Denise Gomez. I don't know. I have a feeling. I don't know what it is. I just think Denise Gomez She reminds me of one of those, like, confident Brazilian lesbian fighters who just, like, think they're the shit going into the rankings and will go in there and just, like, wing punches and then eventually get taken down and bunch and lose. I don't know. Something about Carolina. I just think that something about that much. She looks like a mom. She looks like she would make you, like, a batch of cookies. And I just think that experience of, like, you know, having a kid and going through all the life struggles. I just think Denise Gomez hasn't lived those years yet. She hasn't been through the favelas. You know what I'm saying? So, Carolina. You know, what can I say about Carolina? She's from Poland. That's an interesting place to be from, and yeah, that's my prediction for that fight. Cody Garbrandt versus Miles Johns. Sorry, guys. Miles Johns is literally the nightmare matchup for Cody Garbrandt. This is just a power puncher. And I know what you're going to say. What about Rafael Assunção? He wasn't able to do it. Rafael Assunção was coming off of like 3 losses at that point. Cody Garbrandt was gifted a win there. Miles Johns, he's a powerful dude with good boxing combos. He has really good head movement. He's going to be in there with Cody Garbrandt. Garbrandt doesn't have this like otherworldly power unless if he like lands flush. Like, where he can, like, just put you out. He needs to throw everything into his punch to, like, even knock you out. And Miles Johns is way too technical to be hit by, like, a weaving, like, Cody Garbrandt punch. And he'll just probably just technically break him down using head movement, using uppercuts, using hooks and stuff. And, yeah, I just think Miles Johns is the way clearer pick, in my opinion. It's 1-1 right now, but I think a lot of the bets are going to just be based on how much you like the guy instead of who he is. But Cody Garbrandt, we know who he is at 2024. He has good head movement. He can eventually slip punches, but he has no chin, and his decision making is just atrocious. He's gonna like throw himself into a firefight with this guy and just like get like absolutely flatlined. And I just have a vision. Cody Garbrandt's done, and yeah, Miles Johns, he's getting the win here. Really easily. So, Neil Magny, Carlos Prates, main event time. Do you really need me to tell you who's winning this fight? I feel like whenever I see Neil Magny fighting, I just know he's losing. Now, I know what you're going to say. Mike Mallet, remember that? Like how he fraud checked him? Yeah, but Carlos Prates is nowhere close to Mike Mallet. Mike Mallet is pretty decent on the feet while being an okay wrestler. And he was dominating Neil Magny for 2.5 rounds. Now Neil Magny is up against the up-and-coming welterweight like champion with crazy power, crazy striking, with crazy Muay Thai ability. He's not going to be able to clinch him up that well, as the range is just going to be too much. It's kind of even in range. That's what Magny usually uses to his advantage. And I just think Prates, he's got crazy slips. He's crazy smooth with all of his combinations. He doesn't really do too much with it. He's not really like this like power guy where he's throwing everything into these punches. He's just doing these slick little 1-2s, pull back, and then doing resetting. It's just a beautiful thing to watch. Carlos Prates, I just think his combos, his overall just MMA ability is 10 times better than Neil Magny. I think Magny's only way to success is a takedown, and I don't think he's going to get that. Carlos Prates will get the TKO in this fight, and I don't see how anyone can think otherwise. Neil Magny hasn't shown anything impressive other than after he's gotten his ass beat. That's my prediction for that. Carlos Prates is next up. What can I say? I know a lot of people are kind of like... I know a lot of people are hiding up the fighting nerd, so it's not like a controversial statement that I say it, but Prates, like a lot of people need to look at this guy as like for what he is. He's this crazy powerful striker who can just knock you out at any point in the fight, and he won't let you he hasn't really gone like attempted to take down like too many times, but when he's done when he's been attempted takedowns, he's stuffed them pretty easily. Just need him to the body. He's just crazy everywhere, dude. I mean, what can I say? Neil Magny's fucked. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, until next time.